Okay, so I felt encouraged to tell you guys. By the way, if I get up here, it's because God really put something on my heart. Because I don't like getting up here, and I do not like listening to myself. As much as I talk, I promise I don't. Okay, so I've been making a transition to private practice with my counseling thing. And I felt so confident, at first, and trusting God. And a few little things happened, but it was one little thing that just, like, you can get 10 clients who love you and one doesn't, and you go, I was so discouraged driving home this one day because this client, everything went good, and then she was like, you know what, I don't think this is going to work after. And I was like, why? But God, when I was driving home, God just said trust, and he said timing, and I just felt that in my spirit. And then every single time that I would open my Devos or the Bible or listen to a song, especially with my Devos, every single one was about trust. So it was kind of funny, actually. I'd open it and be trust. So Joyce Meyer, in one of her Devos that I read, says, it's so critical to learn to trust God. It's easy to get stressed out and run down trying to make your life work on your own, but that never works. And God's plan is always better than your own. Sorry, I forget to breathe when I'm up here. The person who trusts God knows that his way is best. Now, trust won't just magically happen. Trust grows as we take steps of faith and experience God's faithfulness. You have to tell your doubt, your fear, your insecurity, or maybe even your fierce independence to make way for a life of trusting God. When you do that, you won't have to struggle so much to make your life work. Trusting God brings a supernatural rest to our souls, allowing us to live simply and freely the way he wants us to live. So even when it doesn't make sense, trust him and experience his freedom and rest. And then Psalms 37:5 says, commit everything you do to the Lord, trust him, and he will help you. So the other thing that God reminded me to do is to offer what I do have. So sometimes we have to, and I seriously think this is why it took me 20-something years to get my master's degree, because I think if I would have gotten my master's degree when I was 20-something, I would have been like, look at me, because when you grow up in a situation where you feel like you're always having to prove yourself, and you feel like I'm doing things to make other people see things, or even for yourself, you just feel like you have to prove yourself. And that's also the control thing I was talking about earlier, doing everything on our own. When you have no control over your life when you're little, you grow up to be a person who wants to control everything. And then having to become a Christian and go, I will trust a God that, his ways and all that. It's kind of hard sometimes. So Sheila Walsh in her Devo, 5 Minutes with Jesus, says, and the name of the Devo was Often You're Not Enough. And this was the favorite one I read. It's been on my heart for 3 weeks. In the Devo, she was talking about when Jesus fed the 5,000. And she said, only Mark included this significant question that came from Jesus' lips. How much bread do you have? All that the disciples could see was what they needed. They missed seeing what they had. Was what they had enough? No. What you and I have is never enough. But when we give what we have to Jesus, he blesses it, he breaks it, and he feeds his people. One more thing, and this is from Sheila Walsh. Do you think that the only person on the hillside that day with the food was the little boy with the packed lunch? Of course not. There were moms and grandmas, and where there are women, there are snacks. Maybe no one else offered the food they had because they knew it wouldn't be enough for the thousands gathered. Look at your life right now. What can you take to Jesus? Do you hesitate because it's not as much as someone else can give? Are you embarrassed because it can't possibly be enough to accomplish the task? Hear this. This is the best part. Christ never expects us to bring what is needed. He asks us to give him what we have, and he makes it work, often with leftovers. And then this is my other favorite part. When you add your not enough to Christ's more than enough, miracles happen. 2 Corinthians 3:5 said, it is not what we think we are qualified to do. It's not that we think we are qualified to do anything on our own. Our qualifications come from God. That's all I have.